Evening and welcome to the Buddy Martin Show. It's a Wednesday night edition. Tonight we got a loaded box here with our guests and a little news breaking. As we speak, the NBA draft is going off. They're down to about the eighth or ninth player. We'll keep you up to speed on that. Right off the bat, we're going to have our friend Steve Russell on to catch up on some baseball and some recruiting stuff. And then Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, on his way with us to talk about the upcoming season. It's getting closer and closer. Things are happening, and I will get Tony's take on the landscape of the SEC, who's got what and when and where, all coming your way. And then Franz Beard will join us later on to catch us up on the draft. And then our friend Carlton Reese has some insights to what's going on in the world of Gators, all coming your way right here tonight on the Buddy Martin Show. Stay tuned and tell your friends and neighbors to come join us on the Buddy Martin Show.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. Welcome to the program. As we speak, Brooklyn has the eighth pick. It's the end. We'll see what it is. Keep you up on that. Long way to go for Walter Clayton gets picked. At least 10 or 12, maybe more. We'll see. Keep you up to date. Franz Beard will join us a little bit later on. Talk about that. Meanwhile, we have a lot of catching up to do. Baseball. Florida signed another really top-notch player today. And nobody knows more about the game of baseball than this guy, Steve Russell. He'll be with us. Well, let's just go get Steve right now. See how he's doing. We haven't talked to him for a while. And Steve Russell is the voice you hear when it comes to baseball. I love this. Oh, Grandpa, the man, the myth, the legend. There you go. That's my kind of shirt, Grandpa.
Yeah, Grandpa twice, and really glad to be that.
You seem like you're really enjoying this stage of your life, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hope, you got to do what you got to do. Enjoying doing the podcast, and then come fall, buddy, we'll see what happens with things. But yeah, I am. It's nice to have a little time off. I'm gonna take the month of July off.
Wow.
My mom is 95 years young.
Oh wow!
I'm gonna go up and see her. So
I heard her call you on the show.
Yeah, she did. She
you
was
were
the last.
You were
She was the
tearing
last
up,
caller.
man.
Yeah, I had no idea she was going to call, and that was pretty special.
Talk about your mom for a second. She's 95, lives in New England.
Lives in New York, the town that I graduated from. She's still there.
Where is
Has
that?
been Middletown, New York.
Middletown. Okay.
Lived there all her life. My aunt, her sister, is 96 years old. So I got a pretty good, knock on wood, I got a pretty good bloodline here. So I'm hoping that'll help me.
Good stock right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, hey, I'm right there with her. So I know what that's about. So we're just blessed every day to get up or out of the bed and put your feet on the floor and have something meaningful to do.
No doubt.
Something that you love and loves you, children, grandchildren, what have you, all a blessing. And we get to work, Steve. We get to go to the ball yard and talking right about sports, and they pay us to do it. Amazing, huh?
It is amazing, isn't it, buddy?
What a concept, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know. You probably know this. The news tonight was that the Gators, who had their moments in recent weeks, we'll talk about some of those, got a big pickup tonight, a solid flip, they said. Rivers Curlin, brother of Cade, and a pitcher. He committed to FSU. Now, according to Max Preps, Um, he went 7 on, 83 innings pitched, .42 ERA, 118 strikeouts, and a 141 opponent batting average. Sounds to me like Sully's getting some ball players.
Somebody I talked to, buddy, within the baseball program, I asked him and I said, how you doing in the portal? And he said, we're killing it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know many schools that are going to say we suck when it comes to the portal, but they're genuinely happy, with the talent they've gotten so far. Carlton being the latest one. And look, you don't ever know how that's going to turn out, but Bobby Bozer certainly turned out well, who came, to Florida from USF, and Florida really didn't lose great talent that left the team. Phil Potts, a guy who was going to be Florida's closer at the start of the year, and he just didn't pan out. He ends up going to South Carolina. But I think overall, if you take the additions Florida's had based on the subtractions Florida's had, I think Florida's in good shape.
Yeah, and they picked up a portal player out of Jacksonville.
Yep.
Must be pretty good.
Yeah, Bastion, very base stealer, good hitter, good defender. So, that they know talent, buddy. I don't think anybody can argue that, given the success that Sully's had. Now, does it translate? Does it always work? No. But again, on paper, they needed some pitching. They strengthened their pitching, getting Reese from Notre Dame and the kid from UCF and Carlton. So they knew that was going to be something they had to go get. They did. It seems like they've met their needs.
They also went after some catchers.
Yes.
I wonder, given how the season ended, disappointingly somewhat, if there's some message there about the catchers.
Well, I mean, Heyman and Donay could both leave, and I suspect they both will leave. They could return, but I don't see that. And, buddy, I just think, being around the team and being with them all year long, when they expended so much energy to get from that 1-11 hole to get to where they were. I just think by the time the regional came around, they were just out of gas. The injuries, I think, caught up to them, and give, Coastal Carolina credit for winning their own regional and doing a nice job and getting to Omaha. And that's not making an excuse. That's what my eyes showed me, that I thought Florida had kind of run out of gas a little bit.
Well, you wonder about the last. You said the Donay and who?
Heyman, Luke Heyman.
Yeah, Donay had a take sign on an 0-3, just according to what I read, and he swung at the ball and made the out. Was there a message there at all?
I don't know that he knew. I think he could have not understood what the count was, lost track of the count, but inexcusable. Inexcusable.
Yeah. Well, it was written, and I shouldn't say this without knowing, was that he knew it. He knew. But
I mean, if I don't know either. I never asked. All I know was in doing the game, Jeff and I were stunned that he swung, at that pitch. And you could see in the dugout, you could just see the arms being raised, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, really.
Now, if he did know, that's a very selfish play. I don't care if he hits a triple.
Yeah, maybe
you don't do that.
Yeah. Final thing, Sully had a rough go. We talked about that last time, and now the shoe was on the other foot for Coastal Carolina. What's your take about that?
Watching their team, buddy, I think they took a lot of energy from Schnall, the coach. And I think when he went out, they were a little bit listless. You could just sort of see, their leader, their guy wasn't there. And I think that affected them. And sometimes a coach being thrown out doesn't affect you at all. But I think in this case, it did. And I think what he did was excessive. Look, in a College World Series, I think umpires have to use great restraint, because you don't want to throw a coach out in a College World Series game. But, I thought it was warranted. And unfortunately, because they called it excessive, he's going to miss, time at the beginning of the year too. Just an
Right.
unfortunate situation for them.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot there. I mean,
Sure.
no matter who you side you take, you can't argue balls and strikes. That's part. Everybody knows that.
Yeah, and you can't do, what he did in terms of,
Right.
the bumping. You're not going to get away
I
with it.
don't
You're
know.
not.
He actually bumped him. I watched it 4 or 5 times. He says he didn't. He said, I can't be responsible for a grown man's athletic ability, as if nothing touched him. I don't know about all that. But the ump sure did, because he came up and said that's two games
Right.
suspension. So
Correct.
he must have
No
already-
hesitation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you don't like to see the umpires be a bigger part of it. Okay. Enough about that, the baseball. Let's switch for a second. Tonight, perhaps the greatest basketball player Florida ever had, if you want to talk about consensus All-Americans, is going to be drafted in the first round. And he's coming up on his now. The ninth pick is in with Toronto, next is Houston, and then the Portland. The projections are somewhere around 20 in Miami. What are you hearing? What do you think? What kind of an NBA player would Walter be?
I'm very interested, buddy, in reading what experts say that cover the NBA. And I also like to read it a year later. How accurate was all of this?
Mm-hmm.
I from everything that I have seen in a couple of the NBA people that I have contact with, they see Clayton as a guy who was going to be a second rounder, who then, because of his clutch play and played himself into a first round pick. But I don't think they see him as an NBA starter. I think they see him as an off the bench guy who has the ability to score and help a team offensively. I think that's what I have mostly seen in terms of what is expected of him, at least, early in his career. And I think he'd be wonderful at that because look, he's not a great defender, but he certainly can score, create his own shot. He certainly isn't afraid. And I think that's what NBA scouts loved, the fact that, he would take over a game offensively and was good at doing it.
Sorry about that. Lost you. Yeah, we're waiting on Tony Barnhart to join us in just a moment. Yeah, and I know. Let me get your take on a couple of football things while we're going here.
Mhm.
Boy, what a great month from all. I don't know about recruiting, but what I'm reading, hearing, talking, what a great month Billy Napier had in recruiting. I mean, they killed it. And this is for 2006 now, folks. Remember, we still got to put a team on the field this year in 2005 and make it run. But it looks like if you want momentum, and you certainly need it at this point in time, they suddenly appeared in the top 15 in recruiting from nowhere. They had basically had 2 players. It feels like he found something, and things have certainly been going his way. What do you think about that, Steve?
Well, think about 2025, right? They sort of had a late surge there too, ended up having a really good class, and it's kind of similar, here now. And look, everybody likes making predictions, and that's what we all like to do, especially this time of the year. If you saw the ESPN computer projection for Florida this year, it wasn't very good for Florida. And if that does happen, that will not make Gator fans happy. But look, those are on paper, they don't mean anything. I think Florida's schedule's tough, but I don't think it's as tough as last year. I think Florida's better than they were a year ago. If you assume Lagway stays healthy, he's healthy for a full year. The offensive line is going to be again staying healthy. Their starting 5 is going to be damn good. I mean, really good. And defensively up front, I like what they've got as well. So they've got a chance. But I don't care what team it is. You got to stay healthy. That's got to be part of it too. But they did great in terms of their late recruiting here, no doubt about it.
We'll see what this guy says about it too. He's been following it kind of close, and I don't. This is really hard to read, these projections. Who knows? This guy here reads the tea leaves all the time. Hello, Steve Russell, Tony Barnhart.
Yeah, Tony.
Oh, it's my good friend Steve Russell. Haven't seen you in a while.
I know it. How are you, man?
I am well. I'm a grandfather just like you.
Yes, don't you love it?
It's the best
You're
job in the
also,
world.
you're also
It is.
just and a myth and a legend like him too. Just
That's right. You may, I may have to like copyright this or something. My son
Yeah.
gave me this
Great.
when my grandson was born. So yeah, that's actually it. And I get cut. I was in the store the other day. I really like that shirt, man. So who knows? Maybe
Yeah,
there's something going here.
no. Every grandpa ought to have. We need to have one of those, Tony. We do.
Absolutely.
I'm finding the mail. We're just talking about recruiting and what I know, Tony. We discussed how hard it is to read the tea leaves, but it seems like something is happening in Gainesville. By any way you count it, Steve, if you go back and look, they had 11 guys in June. They put in there. They got a number of players that were desired by top teams in the country. They suddenly have somebody's picked up something. I've heard the comments of some of the players who went there. There's more on the way. A very good friend of mine who's been on the inside of things there, not a coach, says, and he's been to some of the recruiting meetings and some of the players. He said it's just getting started now. There's a lot more to come. I don't know what they did there, what's in the water, but it feels like, Tony, I think maybe you inherited too, that Billy Napier's got something going on for his 2016.
Well, it sounds like they're building momentum, and I think Steve touched on it. When we talk about the Gators, we're all going to come back to the same point, same question: is that can Lagway go the distance? If Lagway can go the distance, I think everybody believes the Gators have a shot. They can line up with anybody in this league if Lagway stay healthy. Will he? We'll find out.
But isn't that true of all teams? Their quarterbacks staying healthy, right?
Sure.
That is, and we just think about Lagway because we saw the difference, when he's healthy and when he's not last year, and how this team. And Tony, you made Steve made a comment about the schedule not being as hard. One reason it's not as hard is they proved last year you can beat those teams. They can beat those teams, and they did it. So I think that's another thing is that the bravado they now have. Bring it on. Give me what you got. We'll play you. You bring your best, I'll bring my best. We'll play you. We'll meet you. Anyway, that's one thing. Seems to be a lot more confidence there, or whatever. Let me read you guys something. And I know you all know and like this guy a lot. And it's a point to be made if you want to get down to the brass tacks of what's true. And this guy does it more than anybody else, okay? And you'll know who I'm talking about. So the point was made the other day that Arch Manning probably going to win a Heisman. He expected to. He's a favorite at FanDuel, okay, to win it. And so obviously we all like him. And a guy named Spurrier said, I think most people are picking Texas to win the SEC. I think Pat Dooley's PC podcast. They've got Arch Manning already winning the Heisman Trophy too. My question is, says Spurrier, if he's that good, how come they let Quinn Ewers play all the time last year? He was a 7th round pick. Tony, your response to that?
Well, I think the ball coach raises an important point, but the fact of the matter is there was a relationship between Ewers and the head coach at Texas, that it was a pre-existing relationship, and I think that has something to do with it. And plus, it's two different guys. And I think Coach Spurrier raises an important point, but I still think Arch Manning has the talent. He has the talent. Does he have the play calling and everything he needs to be a superstar player? I think he does. But we'll find out.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that Spurrier did always play the best guy. I mean, we've seen him on a short hook, Steve. Where did Werfel come from? Boom, he's in the game. I mean, we've seen him bench guys and without any remorse whatsoever, any past relationships. And he raises the point, and you say, well, he is Sarkisian. Well, was he better already? Were they protecting him? Was it more about they thought he'd do better being brought along slow? Is that what the Mannings wanted him to do? don't put him in there right away. The guy is enormously talented. And I heard someone say the other day, a Texas writer say, he might be the greatest college quarterback in the history of the game. I don't know. Maybe he might be. He's got
whoa.
I didn't say
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony.
Hold it. Wait, I
Took
didn't
the
say
words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
Well, but I didn't say that.
I know you didn't say it, buddy, but if the fact that anybody would,
Yeah.
now, could it possibly turn out that way? Sure, but
Yes.
what we do not have a body of work to even judge this guy yet. So,
Well, and it's just like Lagway, right? I mean, we all think he's going to be really, really good, and he has shown more than Manning has shown because he got to play a little bit more. But we don't know at this point exactly what he's going to do. He's been hurt. Will he stay on the field? And a point about Texas too. Yes, Manning starts now. They lost a lot of talent from that team, a lot of it. And so are they going to be as good across the board, as a team as they were a year ago with Ewers? That remains to be seen, in my opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's lots of questions. There's no doubt about it. But if you want to look at by any stretch of the imagination, based on Tony, we talked about this recently. Every now and then in a lifetime, along comes a player you think this guy can't miss. And even before he hits the field, you're willing to predict and project him as being a great player. You brought up Herschel last time, Tony, as that one kind of guy.
He was pretty good. Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm not sure whether Manning. I've not been around him enough to see. I felt that way about Lagway and said so publicly, and felt he was going to be a great player. And I said, "Great." It's not a word I use very often. Just based on watching him as film and how he throws the ball so quickly and his athleticism and the way he led people, you could tell they were a better team when he was on the field, period. I don't care if they were playing offense or defense. He made everybody better. And isn't that what a great player does? We saw it with Tebow. You saw it in basketball with guys like Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan. They get on the field. I'm not saying he's that. But when they get on the field, all of a sudden, like somebody said, even the defense played better when Lagway was in there.
Yeah, well, Tim Tebow is a classic example. Tim Tebow raised the level of play on every team that he played on for Florida. And guys rallied around this guy. Now the question is Lagway that kind of guy? Is Arch Manning that kind of guy? And we'll see. And it's still a quarterback-driven game. The team with the best quarterback has the best chance. And so we're going to. Here's the great thing about Arch Manning, with all the speculation and all the hype and all that, the games are going to be played. Texas has to go to Athens. Okay, Texas's schedule flip-flops, and so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
It is going to be a lot of fun to watch. There's going to be some great plays made, and the margin of error is very small. You're talking about a very small margin of error between a team that wins 8 or 10 games, and right now it's hard to pick the difference. I don't know that I can tell the difference. Steve, can you stay with us a couple more minutes?
Sure.
Okay, I was going to bring up a sort of a thing that's happening now in college football that we kind of saw coming. And Tony, my gosh, we talked about this for years, the existing realignment and all the things, college football, the return of Division II, quote unquote, etc. Well, here we go. They're gonna realign a lot of the FBS teams. Sources, they said the ASUN and WAC are forming an alliance where 5 football playing ASUN members will move to 2026 into the WAC. Remember the WAC? Which will now then rebrand as United Athletic Conference. Southern Utah and Utah Tech are leaving the WAC. Didn't know they were in it. Sorry. So we're seeing this happening. Is this a rumbling toward more of a Division II thing, Tony?
Well, I think those schools, particularly the group of 5 schools, they got to figure something out what they're going to do in the future, because they are going to go broke trying to keep up with the big boys. So they've got to come up with their own. I've said for a long time that there should be a separate FCS national championship, completely on the second level. Take your Power Four. That's one level, all right, and the Notre Dame and those guys. But these schools are gonna they can't, because we're just getting started, guys. The salary cap right now for college football is $20.5 million. It's not going to stay that way very long, and it's going to go up. And these schools that are not in the Power Four, they simply don't have the resources. They'll go broke trying to keep up with them. So I think they ought to have their own national championship. I think there'd be a lot of interest in a group of 5 national championship.
I totally agree with that, buddy. Totally agree with Tony. And I think this is coming, Tony. I do. Because of what you said. You monetarily, I mean, look, the power schools are going to have difficulty funding all sports, right?
Well, the Wake Forests of the world.
Right.
Heck, the Mississippi States of the world are going to have trouble.
Yes, exactly.
You know, Mississippi State gets propped up by SEC money, and that has a whole lot to do with it. But you're right, buddy. There's going to be a lot of change coming down the road because the stakes are going to be so high. Schools will simply not be able to keep up.
Well, I mean, look at what's happening to the coffers. People are broke. They are broke. What are they going to do? I heard someone say today that one of these schools might take the money and then drop football. You know, I guess you could do that. Like someone brought up UMass. They'd be willing to drop football and, you know, take the money. And I guess you could do that, right, Tony?
Play basketball.
Yeah, take the money. So you have
what's going to be interesting is watching what happens in the Big East as the Big East takes the money and puts it all into men's basketball.
UConn, they have football, but you know where that money is going to go, right?
Yeah. It's kind of Darwin survival of the fittest in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Something that kind of we talked about for years possibly happening. Maybe we don't need this many big-time college football programs. I don't know. As much as we love it, although it's proved to be profitable for these schools, you know, they went ahead and started and added football and got into the big time. They made a lot of money with it, but we'll see where it all goes. The money situation could change in a heartbeat. And all right, let's talk about for a second about stadiums. Been a couple of stories out recently in the stadiums. And EA just came out with the toughest places to play. All right. And now
they're all tough places to play.
Of course they are. But here's the thing about it. It's not hard to figure out. Go look at the records the last few years. They'll tell you what's tough to play. And, you know, I noticed that Florida, which used to be really high here, it used to be 3rd, 4th, 5th, whatever, and still isn't a lot of them, has dropped because why? They haven't won as many games lately.
Right.
But this EA came out with a list. I'll let you guys evaluate it. They named. Let's start down at the bottom and go up. I'm gonna start with Florida at 7. Florida's 7. They said the home Florida Gators, colloquially known as the Swamp, given Gainesville's regular, blah, 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 all the things we know. All right. Now, up next before that comes Clemson. Would they be in your top 6, Tony and Steve? Toughest place to play? I wouldn't be in mine. Anyway, they would be.
No, I don't think they would be. I don't have my list right here in front of me, but I'm not sure Clemson would be.
This doesn't sound. Yeah, it just doesn't sound right. Yeah, and then they got Alabama, which appears to be a little low above them. Above them is Georgia. Got Georgia 4th, 4th. Georgia might be a little low. Then above them is Ohio State. Can't argue much about that. Penn State. I don't know that I put Penn State 2nd. I just don't know. I think I'd put both.
Well, the definition is toughest places to play. I mean, I've been to Penn State. It's an entertaining place to play. It's a historic place to play. Toughest place to play.
Yeah, that's the point. And then LSU is number 1. I can't argue with that. But
nope.
So now I'm gonna give you the coach, Steve, and you get to play you had to play all but one of these teams. You can drop anybody out of these. You got LSU, Penn State, Ohio State, and Georgia. Who are you going to drop?
As far as toughest place to play?
Oh yeah. You're going to have to play all four of these teams, but you get to eliminate one.
Oh, okay. Give me the four again.
LSU, Penn State, Ohio State, and Georgia.
Well, because it's in the SEC, Georgia.
Well, you're going to play them, but I'm saying if you play a team you think you can beat.
Oh, okay. I thought you said about dropping one. Okay,
dropping one from the list of their toughest places to play. Sorry, didn't do a good job explaining. LSU, Penn State, Ohio State, and Georgia.
I'm still confused. Tony, help me.
Well, I assume that you're picking. There are four teams. You got to play all of them at one. You get to pick which one you don't have to play.
That's correct.
Yeah,
for me, that's LSU. Okay. I don't want to go to Baton Rouge on a Saturday. If we play at 11 o'clock in the morning in Baton Rouge, hey, I'm good with that. Nighttime in Baton Rouge, no sir.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't say it very well. Which one of these four teams doesn't belong in here? LSU, Penn State, Ohio State, or Georgia for toughest places to play.
Oh, okay. Now, well, I agree with Tony. Penn State. If you're putting it that way, I would say Penn State. There's a lot of people. There's 100,000 people, isn't it, Tony?
It's tough. Yeah, it's tougher to play at Georgia, at LSU,
yes,
at Ohio State. It's tougher to play in all those places than it is Penn State.
Yes, I agree.
And a lot of people pick Kyle Field because of the amount of people. I don't think Kyle Field is anywhere close to some of those other places. I mean, so they get a lot of people. It's colorful and all that, but I don't think it's as tough as any of these schools are. And in my opinion, Kyle Field is colorful, but doesn't belong among the elite in terms of places to play. And of course,
they got a lot of money, buddy. They got a lot of money.
A lot of money, get a lot of people. Therefore, put them up there, right? Do you see Florida returning to that list again someday, guys?
Sure, absolutely.
It's cyclical. Sure. I mean, nobody stays on top forever, right?
And now that the greatest of all time is gone, it's wide open.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. All right, I've got here before me an impossible task, but that's why I got you guys. The way too early Heisman Trophy vote, and with the odds, and it has changed a little bit. I don't know a lot about some of these players, and this is not just SEC. So I would say I'll read out this list, and you guys tell me who. I'm going to leave Arch Manning off the list, okay? I'm leaving them all right? Heisman Trophy, way too early candidates, all right? Next in line, Garrett Nussmeier. Some people don't think he belongs in that list. I don't know why, but he's the second favorite betting.
He's got an NFL arm. He's a coach's son. He's got everything you need.
Yeah, but the Gator fans have said we sacked him 8 times last year. But anyway, that's another story. They're better this year on that. Here's a guy that's getting a lot of run, Cade Klubnik.
Yep.
Clemson's quarterback. You guys got a thought on that?
Kid from Texas, a lot of talent. Started slow in his career, but has gotten better as they are. I talked to a number of Clemson folks. They are expecting him to have a monster year.
He's getting a lot of play, Steve. People talk about Klubnik, and I can't speak to it that well. I've not seen that much on him. What are your thoughts?
He was better last year, but Tony's right. He started out very slowly, and there was some doubt about, is he going to live up to, the hype that he had? But I agree. I think Clemson's got itself back, to where Clemson has been. I think he's going to have a big year too.
Yeah, he seems to be getting a lot of play. All right, a couple more here. I'm going to bring in, I think, Franz. We're still waiting on the pick. They're now the 12th pick is in. They picked the French player. And so we got probably another 6 or 7 to go before Walter Clayton is going to get picked. All right, a couple more. After Klubnik, you get Jeremiah Smith, non-quarterback, Julian Sayin. I'm not familiar with that, man. Drew Aller. And then you get Lanoris Sellers and DJ Lagway. Anybody want to jump in there?
Well,
Sell-
I
go
I
ahead.
think Lagway's as talented as anybody on that list that you mentioned. Does he end up having a big year? The Aller at Penn State, okay. He's okay. He's not a great quarterback, but he's okay. He'll be surrounded by talented folks. But I'm just not sold on Penn State. That's
Yeah.
good, not great. So,
Yeah.
Part of Aller's problem has been not great wide receivers there. He's not had, Ohio State has had great receivers to throw to. He hasn't had nearly that talent at wide receiver. That's part of it. But I'm with Tony here. I think Aller's good. I don't know that he's Heisman Trophy good.
Lenore Sellers is the guy who's getting a lot of run.
he's really good.
Leave. Tony, how are we going to verify that he got $8 million offer to leave?
I have no idea. Come on. What? Just in the interest of full disclosure, I don't even talk about the NIL. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no point. The money can't be true. Even if it is true, when they start playing the game, guys, nobody's going to care where the money comes from. Nobody's going to care how much anybody's getting paid. They're going to be paying attention to the games. For now, this is all we've got to talk about, and it's if he got $8 million, my reaction is good for him.
Yep.
Well, you're going to like this, Tony and Steve. His daddy told him, I love what his daddy said. Sellers' dad said, you don't need $18 million right now in your life, or $8 million. You don't need it.
Which, of course, is true.
Yeah. I'm not sure I can tell my son that if he got offered $8 million, I say, Commissioner for old Pops here, maybe I will.
Excuse me, but somebody needs to go talk to Nico's dad, see how that all worked out. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Good point.
It's hard, guys. I'm gonna bring Carlton in here for this too. It's hard to quantify these things. I mean, Steve, we used to be able to go to practice, watch guys play, look at the stat sheet, talk to his coach, and figure out what was going on. We had so much information here that we don't know what to believe anymore. You know, Steve?
Yeah, and that's the look. We're all going to sound like we're 100 years old, the way it used to be in the good old days. But it's true. You had so much more access to players and coaches, more information. You guys I wasn't a writer, but you guys remember the Sky Riders tour. Remember that? You used to go on those things and sit in the coach's room and smoke a cigar and have a drink and talk football. I mean, those days are forever gone. And it's kind of sad, really, because you don't get the same information. You don't get the same insight that you used to get. But hey, there's no sense lamenting that because those days are gone.
They are, but it still doesn't mean it can't be the standard, right? I mean, can it still be the standard? I mean, I don't know, Tony. You're pretty good about you figure out what's important to you and you stick with it. And I respect people who say, I don't follow recruiting at all. But I feel like as a reporter, I got to kind of make an effort to find out something about it, to understand something about it, and I don't feel comfortable. It's sort of a 1980s thinking of, well, we don't follow recruiting because they don't wind up coming here. That's not true. And the transfer portal has changed things the way free agency changed baseball. May not like it, want to admit it, but you can't just say, I'm not going to talk about it and just drop it. Don't you have to at least comment about it, Carlton?
Yeah, buddy, I hate to admit this, but while y'all were talking, I was sitting there having a text conversation with my daughter who's in D.C., and she said she saw DJ Lagway with a bunch of guys in the Senate building today. So I was like, wait a minute, I'm about to go on a show. What is this all about? So I didn't hear what I know you're talking about recruiting. What's the question again, buddy? I'm sorry.
It's really okay. It's really not even that irrelevant. You just how much do you talk about it? By the way, the draft's going on. The pick is in for Atlanta at 13. And they probably may not get around to the pick for Walter Clayton tonight. Anyway, we'll see. All right, so that's the deal. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is you have to develop a language to where you can at least address the issues because people demanding that we want to know about, they want to know about it. What can you tell us about the portal? What can you tell us about recruiting? I don't feel capable, but at least I'm going to try to talk to somebody and learn some things about it. And I noticed that you can't get Tony, we can't pick up the phone and call. You can. I can't call any coach I want to get him on the phone. I can't get him on the phone. So I don't have that ability and those relationships, Steve, that we used to have. I have nobody to call to check on things except a couple of former ball players. So then what do? Try to learn as much as I can. Go back and listen to tapes. Jaluk is a guy I found fascinating, doing a study the last couple of days. And just by going back and reading what's already out there, these interviews online, learning more about who he is, how he handles his players, his technique. I thought he was a fascinating guy. Anyway, my point is, I guess I'm just sort of struggling. How do we write, report, and talk about things that we don't even know about?
You asking me again?
I'm asking all of you. Who wants to go?
I mean, it's almost like medicine now, where you got to go see a specialist for just about everything now. That's how I look at journalism. You've got to talk to a recruiting guru out there to really get what information you need. I'm more of a general practitioner, so I'm kind of looking at big pictures and things like that. So I think that's kind of where we are.
Well, Steve, we talked tonight about Florida on this kid. Florida signed a pitcher. His brother's on the team tonight. He's a guy that's not playing yet. And you can't use the argument, let's wait till they show up. I'll talk about it. It's too late then. And things are not as you don't have to worry about them being able to change teams next week. They can't do it now. If they do, they can't play. So there are some guidelines. How do you judge that in terms of when you're evaluating baseball, Steve? You follow it closely.
I'm kind of old school when it comes to this because, look, you have to follow recruiting and you have to know, who Florida's getting or who they missed out on. But, buddy, in the end, what that guy's ranked, what he did previously at a different school doesn't mean a damn thing. Doesn't mean anything because they could come here and not do as well. Right. Or if a guy comes here and he wasn't a top prospect, but all of a sudden he gets to play and he's really good. I mean, look, would you rather have a guy in the top 10 in a recruiting ranking as opposed to a top 50 in a recruiting ranking? Sure, you would. That's what fans look at. But in the end, Tony, you've done this, a long time. How many guys have you seen drafted in the NFL, their first round picks that are terrible?
Yeah,
and there's free agent guys that ended up being all pros. So
it is very much an inexact science.
No question.
It always has been. And my attitude about it is that the recruiting aspect, while to me, it starts when the guy signs and he is officially coming to your school. Now let's find out about him, and now let's just pick up the phone, call some people, find out as much as we can. Because you just don't know. I just like to see guys in practice, talk after they get on campus, and it was hopefully the coaches will get what they want in this one transfer portal window, which is what they want. They want one window, so that will be, I think, a good thing for the process.
Another topic, if I may. We don't talk to the fans too much, but we can see right before our very eyes what's going on. Everybody's building new stadiums. Everybody's raising their prices. Tickets cost more. It's almost impossible anymore to be a regular fan. You have to pay extra money for what you want. And the price of being a sports fan has gone through the roof. I don't have to tell you, people are talking about having a recession this year. It's tough out there for people. The question is what about the high cost of being a fan? I mean, I read this the other day. From 1999 to 2020, the average price of a seat across all sports rose roughly twice as fast as overall consumer prices. Now, we can understand that language, right? Less money. It increased 19.5% between May 2023 and May 25, one of the biggest jumps in any category tracked by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It isn't just convenient, it's lonely. Access shatters, rituals vanish, things happen. And like I said earlier, we talked about teams and schools giving up a sport and changing their athletic department. If they don't got any money, they're not going to be able to do anything. They don't have a lot of money. The players are getting it, but it's got to come from someplace. So what about the voices of reason and sanity regarding the high cost of sports? Steve, start with you.
Me, I'm sorry.
What about the high cost, or whoever wants to jump in? What about the price going through the roof for being a sports fan? It's unaffordable anymore.
Well, there's still 89, 90,000 people going to a Gator game. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying, buddy, that a lot of it isn't corporate or, who's getting the seats. But let me ask Tony and Carlton this, because, I mean, do you see an appreciable decline in fans going to games despite the cost? I don't see that.
Buddy, I had this conversation with a sitting athletic director, and one thing he did mention is that there's a balance that you strike between what you charge what the market will bear until you get negative feedback and all that. But he said, but the fact of the matter is, and this athletic director told me, he says, for all these people who are complaining and saying they're giving up their season tickets, I got 40 people, 100 people, 200 people waiting in line for the opportunity to buy that season ticket.
Yep.
Because the demand is so great. And they know this, but you don't want to alienate your fan base by gouging them, but you've got to charge as much as the market will bear, because you got to come up with the money to fund the NIL and all that. So it's a tough call.
I don't know. The people I talk to are working people say, the ones I know say, my gosh, I can't afford Gator season tickets anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people have dropped out and said,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to buy them anymore. I can't.
Yep.
The other side of that coin is I hear too, see, when you've heard this, a lot of people complain that their kids can't get into school at Florida, although they're legacy kids. But even though they have 1,000 on the ACTs and they're all 4.5 students, they can't get in Florida. But they feel, whether it's true or not, that any foreign student can get in, especially if they're Asian. That's the perception, Carlton. I know you know that.
Well, Tony was talking about the market dictates it. I mean, we can use our own anecdotal evidence. A lot of people are upset, but if they're filling these stadiums with 90,000 people, that's your answer. That's the only evidence you can go by. Now, they've priced me out. I mean, even a sport like baseball, which, I mean, if there was a sport you could ever walk up to the gate and buy your way in and get a cheap seat, that was it. I tried to get Devil Race tickets the other day, and they're playing at that Steinbrenner Field. There was no way I could take my family down there for it. And the same thing happens, with Gator football and season tickets. But I don't know, Tony or Steve said it, there's always someone waiting to take that spot that you're going to give up.
Maybe not as many, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, it's going to hit a point where, they're going to hit a peak, and then it's going to come down. Also, I mean, if Florida had gone 3-7 last year, would prices be so high this year? I mean, let's look at some of the teams that maybe aren't charging as much because they can't, because their teams aren't very popular. I don't know.
Yeah, I wondered if I said to you all, is sports overall better or worse than it was? The condition for the fan, is it better today for the fan, or is it worse today for the fan? And what you all would say and how you characterize. Let's do that. Is it better today for the fan, or was it better back in the day when you could buy a ticket, Tony?
Yeah. No, it's not better today for the fan, because so many fans are being priced out of the market. And they're still, as we said, they're still selling those tickets, but the people who are able to participate, who are able to buy tickets, those numbers are going down, and some people are going to have some tough decisions to make. But no, put it this way, for the rich fans, the game is better than it's ever been.
Right.
The ones who sit in the luxury boxes, the one who buy the season tickets, buy a bunch of season tickets, if you are someone of means, college football is better than it's ever been.
Great point, Steve. That's what we're going to have at Florida Field. All those luxury boxes, they rebuild everything.
You gotta make money. An athletic department, especially now, has got to find ways to make money. And let's take the sport that I do radio for. Go to a Gator baseball game. To Carlton's point, go to the concession stand. Go see how much food is at a Gator game. It's not cheap. And if you bring your family there, you better bring some Jack when you come to the ballpark. So they got to make money. That's what they're in business to do, make money for the athletic program. And it is pricing some people out, but people are still going.
I guess key operative word there being business. You're right. So, all right. So Carlton, hang with me for a second. I'm going to do a commercial here, and then I'll say goodnight to Steve and Tony. Thank you guys a bunch. Great job. Appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thank you, buddy. Good seeing y'all. Okay.
Thank you, guys. All right, guys. Still waiting for Carlton for the draft here. I don't have it yet. I want to tell folks about my sponsors. Meldon Law, who makes this possible. My good friend Jeffrey, I talked to him today. He's getting ready to go to Europe for a whole bunch of weeks and enjoy himself. And Meldon Law, of course, they do a fine job in their business. They're wonderful Gator fans. The only official law firm for the University of Florida, Meldon Law. They have 4 locations to serve you, one of them being Ocala, right there on the Pine Street. Of course, then out in Gainesville, Wilson, and Lake City. Meldon Law, they have offices. They're very adding lawyers all the time. They do a fine job. They're very conscientious about what they do and how they do it. And as they like to say, they won't back down. Meldon Law, go check them out. All right, Carlton and Reese, we haven't talked in a while. You're purportedly working on a book. We got about 5 minutes to talk about it. This book supposedly that Franz Beard is working on. He's waiting on Franz now because he's covering the draft.
Supposedly he is working on it. He's definitely working on it. And I mean, a lot of what is going in it, he's already written and kind of tweaked and massaged to kind of update it. His basically recounting what was one of the 3 greatest years in University of Florida basketball history. So some of it might even be the greatest because the expectations weren't there like they were in 06 and 07, especially the 07. And so it's basically Fran's personal journey through that season, and we all ride along with him and enjoy that ride for a second time. We read it now knowing how it's going to end, but at the time we didn't know how it's going to end. And Franz does a good job of getting us back into that mindset of what it felt like to have those doubts. Can this team make a Final Four? How are we? Much less a national championship. We didn't know they were going to win the title. So when you look back at history, you look back at it seems like a foregone conclusion when you look at it historically, but it's still fresh in our minds. And Franz takes us through that journey of what it felt like, everything going along the way. It's an easy read. It's an enjoyable read. Franz does a wonderful job.
I have to laugh thinking about my new favorite comic, Nate Bargatze, who's a funny dude. Made more money last year than any comedian in the country. He talks about he didn't like to read, likes to read books, but he said, there's so many words. There ought to be blank pages. He wrote a book that's with blank pages in it, by the way. And he said, he says, I don't know anything about history. I read a historical book. I sit on the edge of my chair waiting to find out what happened. So it reminded me of Franz's book. You know what happens, but you may still be sitting on the edge of your chair reading all about this great basketball season, huh?
Yeah, there are great movies that I've seen 50 times, but I can still watch Jaws again just to get to the scene where Robert Shaw's talking about the Indianapolis, and I enjoy it as much every time I see it.
We're going to pop this guy on for 2 minutes. And there he is right there. He's waiting.
Right.
As we have exactly 3 minutes to talk about the draft, where it is. How far away is Walter Clayton?
I expect he's going to go somewhere between, say, 16 and 21. there's some teams out there that really he's a good fit for a lot of teams. Bad fit for some others. I mean, I'm looking at Utah today goes for Ace Bailey, which would a lot of mocks had Walter going to Utah. I think picking Ace Bailey probably eliminates him there. Miami's got a lot of shooters. I don't think he's a good fit in Miami. To be honest, and I really don't think he's a great fit in Orlando either. But there are teams out there that he would fit quite well to play with. I'd love, goodness, uh, I as much as I'd love to see him in either Miami or Orlando because we'd see more of him here. I just don't know. But the Magic have confounded us for years and always made the bad. Going to the Magic is like a death sentence. I mean, it's like, okay, you're going to get executed, but you're on death row, and you got to go through the appeals process, and until the governor sends you a pardon at the last second, you're stuck. So anyway. The curse of Shaq lives on.
Well, I tell you, I would like to go to see him. I'd like to go to somewhere like Utah, and we'll never get a chance to see him. Although Utah's had their pick already. But yeah.
Well, they've got like 2 more picks, and they went like 17 and 65 last year.
I know.
They're. I mean, if you get picked by Utah, it's because they're really bad.
I'm talking about time zone difference is what I'm concerned about.
Well, I know, but even so, I mean, goodness, that you talk about a death sentence going out to a 17 and 65 team. The one thing you can't be assured of is you'll get a chance to play a lot, maybe score some points, and maybe your second contract will be good.
That could be. So right now they're at 16. The pick is in on Memphis. It could be coming up here in the next 4 or 5 picks. Probably won't be on the air. Real quick, your projection, Franz?
I think he goes like 19 or 20, buddy. That's just my guess. I think maybe Minnesota. I think Minnesota's at 18. That would be a really good landing spot for him to be there with Minnesota at 18. I hope he doesn't go to Washington. That's a graveyard for everything. I think 18 at Minnesota would be a really good place for him to land.
Okay. Carlton, you got it real quick. We got 20 seconds.
Well, I
know you don't follow. I don't follow it either myself.
Well, I think that a lot of times if they're drafting a finished product, that means that Walter Clayton's not going to be drafted that high. But I don't think you take talent that way. You kind of project what are they going to be.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I think Walter Clayton should be a very high draft pick because I think he's got a high ceiling. He's not a finished product coming out of college.
All right, guys. Thanks very much. I got to go. Thank you very much, Carlton Reese, the editor of Ocala, and Franz Beard of Gator Bay. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Night. All right, folks. I want to tell you about Titan MRI. It's now Titan MRI and Imaging. They acquired Highfield MRI, and Joe Colorio started Highfield, so he's back with them now. Titan MRI and Imaging has 3 locations to serve you: 2 in Gainesville with Park Avenue location and the Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City serving Columbia County and Valdosta. Titan MRI and Imaging offers the same great customer service. They now accept insurance, or you can go through their convenient self-pay option. Titan MRI and Imaging offers MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, and ultrasounds. Easy scheduling with lots of options. Titan MRI and Imaging. Check them out. Plenty of locations to serve you, coming soon to Ocala. Thanks. Good program tonight. Thanks to Tony and thanks to Steve and the whole gang, and appreciate it. We're going to go watch the rest of this draft and hope things go well for Walter Clayton Jr. Love to see him in Florida someplace. Good night, folks. Thanks.